An icon on the screen, off it, her behaviour could drive her co-stars and directors to distraction. Now, 55 years after Marilyn Monroe first arrived in Britain to make The Prince and the Showgirl, a new film aims to recreate its off-camera dramas. As stars turn out in London for tonight's premiere of My Week with Marilyn, our culture editor Matthew Cain analyses what the movie teaches us about the real woman behind the actress's persona.
No more, please.
Oh, one more will not hurt a fly.
It was one of the most extraordinary pairings in cinematic history. The Hollywood siren looking for credibility as an actress, and the classical English actor hoping to reignite his profile as a film star.
I really shouldn't bother your Grand Ducal.
Well, cheerio.
But when
Cheerio.
Marilyn Monroe and Laurence Olivier worked together on The Prince and the Showgirl, the pair clashed. And that story is now told in the film My Week with Marilyn, with Monroe played by Michelle Williams and Olivier by Kenneth Branagh.
8 months of this. I'd rather kill myself.
Oh.
It should have worked a treat. It was in a film version of a play that he'd done. In fact, it was very, very difficult. The clash with Marilyn Monroe, her style, her whole atmosphere, almost unmanned him, and he writes about it candidly as a very dark period for him.
Gee, this is all right, isn't it?
Cut.
Can't we just drop it?
Well, the thing is, darling, you've already admired the downstairs hall in the earlier scene, and now you're admiring this room as well.
The producers aren't interested in whether it's difficult for you. They're just interested in what ends up on screen. And if what ends up on screen is Marilyn Monroe at her best, her most sexy and her most lovely, but she happened to turn up four hours late, Larry, Kenny, whoever, get over it. Get over yourself.
My Week with Marilyn is based on the books by Colin Clark, the third assistant director on The Prince and the Showgirl.
No matter what others may say.
He kept a diary about his time on set and his week-long flirtation with the biggest star in the world.
Michelle had an idea that Marilyn was working through some sort of method technique, because Marilyn's character in The Prince and the Showgirl has an interest with the young prince in the film, and that somehow maybe by getting to know the young Colin whilst she was making the film, that was a way of exploring that.
Along this corridor, we used to have the production offices and Marilyn's dressing room.
The Prince and the Showgirl was shot at Pinewood Studios in 1956. One of the key members of the crew was script supervisor Elaine Shrake.
I remember her saying to me one day, something had happened. She said, "Oh, you're all on his side or something." And I said, "Marilyn, we're not on anybody's side. We're just here to make a good picture."
To make it look as authentic as possible, much of My Week with Marilyn was shot here in the same studios where The Prince and the Showgirl was made. But as well as recreating a true story, the film also touches on the mythification of Marilyn Monroe and the distinction between the public persona and the real woman behind it. And inevitably, the film itself will play into this ongoing process of mythification.
We're having a heat wave.
Since her death, Marilyn Monroe has been the subject of countless newspaper and magazine articles, more than 40 films and documentaries, and an estimated 600 books.
There was always this sense of a disjunction between how successful she appeared to be and then how lonely and sad it became clear that she was, even while she was living it. But the fact is that the way that Marilyn was presented to her public from the very earliest days was always as somebody who was a manufactured product. Because the very first studio biographies say there was a woman called Norma Jean Doherty, or Norma Jean Baker, she had different names, and she has become Marilyn Monroe. So there's always a story about these two people, and I think that always allows for the possibility that we're looking for the real Marilyn Monroe behind all the glamour.
Surprise!
My Week with Marilyn is the latest attempt to bridge this disjunction between the famous film star and the fragile human being behind her. But with so many different accounts available, perhaps we'll never know just how accurate its representation really is.